The dead world hung in silence. Once, it had been a shining jewel, a planet of tall spires and oceans of silver blue. Now it was only dust and ruins, circling a dying sun that burned like a fading ember. Storms of ash swept across the surface, whispering through empty cities that hadn't seen life in a million years. The expedition ship Zephyrine descended through the storm clouds. Its engines hummed weakly as it landed on a broken plateau surrounded by ancient pillars. 6 alien researchers stepped out, their suits glowing faintly in the darkness. They had come for one thing: the Relic. Rumors of it had spread for decades across the galaxy. An artifact left behind by the first ones. The civilization said to have built the first stars, shaped the first worlds, and then vanished without a trace. No one knew why. No one knew how. But everyone wanted to find what they left behind. The team moved carefully, guided by scanners that flickered with unstable readings. Dr. Rek, a tall reptilian scholar from the Threx Dominion, led the way. His scales shimmered green in the dim light as he spoke into the comms. "We are approaching the signal source. Energy levels are rising." Beside him, the insectoid linguist, Tyler, clicked nervously. "Rising? That thing's been dead for ages. How could it?" Her words cut off as they stepped into a vast chamber carved deep into the stone. At the center floated a black cube, suspended above an altar of cracked metal. It was smooth, perfect, and completely silent, yet the air around it pulsed, alive with invisible energy. For a long moment, none of them moved. Dr. Vurek's voice trembled. "The core of origin, it's real." The others stayed, transfixed. Symbols glowed faintly on the floor, spirals, lines, and shapes that shifted when you looked at them. The cube gave off a low hum, like something half asleep. Then it spoke, not with sound, but with a vibration that touched their minds. "Unworthy." The team staggered back, their hearts pounding. Vurek steadied himself and stepped closer. "We mean no harm. We only seek knowledge." The cube flashed red. The hum grew louder, angrier. "Unworthy." A wave of energy burst outward. The air exploded. Tyler screamed as her body was thrown into the wall. Sparks burst from her suit. Another researcher's translator melted, releasing a hiss of smoke. Vurek fell to his knees, gasping. When the shockwave faded, the cube returned to silence, floating peacefully once more. They had been rejected. Hours later, emergency crews arrived from orbit. Medical drones carried the wounded away, but Vurek refused to leave. He stared at the relic from a distance, his tail flicking with frustration. Every empire had tried to unlock the secrets of the ancients, and failed. But this was different. This relic was alive, aware, judging those who touched it. He couldn't walk away now. Days passed. More ships came. Scientists, priests, soldiers, collectors. The chamber became a fortress surrounded by lights and machines. Every alien species wanted a turn. The tall blue-skinned Lorna attempted first. She connected her mind-link cables directly into the relic's field. The cube glowed briefly, then shattered her neural implant, leaving her screaming in pain. Next came the mechanical beings of cryos, built of steel and plasma. They surrounded the cube with energy siphons, trying to absorb its power. The relic pulsed once, and their bodies collapsed like puppets with cut strings, dead, empty, erased. Then came the telepaths of Ven, who reached out with their minds. They lasted 3 seconds before blood streamed from their eyes. Each test ended the same way. The relic glowed red. The relic rejected them. Always the same word echoed in their heads. Unworthy. Soon the story spread across the stars. Broadcasts reached every world. The core of origin has been found. The first ones have left a guardian. No race can touch it. Entire civilizations began to argue over its meaning. Some called it a weapon. Others, a warning. Some even worshipped it as a god. And yet, it stayed silent, floating, watching, waiting. The galaxy held its breath. Then, on the edge of the system, a small human transport ship dropped out of hyperspace. It was old, rusted, barely holding together. A cargo hauler turned explorer, marked with the faded insignia of Earth's frontier agency. Inside, One man sat alone in the cockpit, sipping cold coffee and staring at the coordinates blinking on his console. Captain Elias Ward. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't famous. Just another wanderer looking for a job, maybe some alien ruins he could sell data about. He didn't know that this discovery had already changed the galaxy. He didn't know that every empire was already there, waiting. All he knew was that someone had sent a public distress signal from this dead world. He came because no one else had answered it. As his ship descended through the dust storm, the scanners crackled. Unstable energy readings. Artificial gravity spikes. Something old was awake down there. He leaned back, frowning. Guess someone found a shiny rock. Lightning flashed across the ruins as the human ship touched down among towering alien crafts. From the shadows, hundreds of eyes turned toward the newcomer. And high above, deep in the chamber of the Relic, the black cube began to hum again, softer this time. Almost expectant, as if it could sense something. Something familiar. Something human. The alien outpost buzzed with nervous energy. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy crowded around the ancient temple, their voices echoing through the stone corridors. Soldiers from the Zorak Dominion stood guard beside priests of the Lorne Ascendancy. Scientists from 10 different worlds argued in front of screens and scanners that showed nothing they could understand. The relic floated silently at the center of it all, unmoving, untouchable, eternal. Every species had tried to claim it. Everyone had failed. And now, to the disgust of the gathered elites, a human had arrived. Captain Elias Ward stepped out of his ship wearing a patched exploration suit and a half-broken helmet that hissed slightly when he moved. His boots crunched against the dust as he looked up at the ancient temple, his brown eyes reflecting the faint glow of the relic chamber. He was alone. No crew. No backup. Just a man and his curiosity. From the crowd, a tall reptilian figure slithered forward. Dr. Varek, the Threk scholar who first discovered the relic. His tail flicked irritably as he regarded the human. "You are late, Terran. The Council has already determined that this site is too dangerous for your kind." Elias smirked. "Funny. I wasn't aware I needed permission to answer a distress call." Several aliens hissed in disapproval. The insectoid linguist Tyler, her chitin patch from the earlier explosion, clicked in annoyance. "This is not a salvage mission, human. That relic destroys all who approach it. Even our most advanced minds cannot comprehend it." Elias shrugged, looking past them to the glowing chamber entrance. "Maybe you've all been asking it the wrong way." That one sentence made the crowd fall silent. A few whispered among themselves. Others laughed, a short, cold laughter filled with contempt. "Typical human arrogance," muttered one of the Lorne priests. "They think everything belongs to them." But Elias ignored them. He could feel it, something strange in the air, a vibration, like a heartbeat, pulsing through the ground. The relic was calling. He didn't know how he knew, but he felt it deep inside, like the pull of gravity itself. He stepped toward the chamber. Guards moved to block him, but Dr. Varek raised a claw. "Let him try," the Threk said quietly. His tone was mocking, but his eyes glowed with curiosity. "If he dies, at least we will know that the relic rejects all life, not just the superior kind." The guard stepped aside. Elias entered the chamber alone. It was colder inside. The walls shimmered faintly with ancient markings, shifting symbols that almost seemed alive. At the center floated the black cube, spinning slowly above the cracked metal altar. The light from it pulsed in slow, steady beats. For a moment, he just stood there, breathing. He could feel something staring back, not with eyes, but with awareness. "So," he whispered, "you're the big mystery everyone's dying over." The relic didn't respond. He stepped closer, boots scraping against the floor. The air thickened. A low hum filled the chamber, deep enough to vibrate his bones. His visor flickered with static, his oxygen readings jumping wildly. The relic turned. It actually turned, rotating until one of its sides faced him directly. Outside the chamber, the alien observers gasped. Their instruments went crazy. Energy readings spiked far beyond measurable levels. Elias didn't notice. He was already reaching out. He took off his gloves slowly and stretched his hand forward. Let's see what you've got. His fingertips brushed the surface of the cube. The world exploded in light. Every sensor, every camera, every eye in the room was blinded by a sudden flash of pure white energy. The ground shook. A wave of sound blasted through the outpost, sending scientists tumbling and knocking soldiers off their feet. Then, just as quickly, it stopped. The air was still. The cube no longer hovered. It floated lower, slowly descending until it was level with Elias's chest. Its once black surface now glowed softly, pure and clear. The aliens stayed in disbelief. "It's bowing," whispered Tyler. The cube tilted slightly forward, emitting a low, harmonic tone, like a deep hum of acknowledgement. Then, for the first time since its discovery, it spoke. "Accepted." Dr. Vurek's jaw fell open. His voice trembled. Impossible. It rejected the Ven, the Lorn, the Cryos, every race. Why him? The relic's glow intensified. Symbols appeared on the floor, forming concentric rings of light that spread outward until they reached the walls. The entire chamber seemed to come alive, pulsing in rhythm with Elias's heartbeat. Elias stood frozen, eyes wide, hands still resting on the relic. "What the hell are you?" The cube pulsed once more. Inside his mind, a voice whispered, ancient, echoing, both strange and familiar. "Child of Earth, you have returned." Then the vision came. In an instant, his mind filled with images, galaxies forming from clouds of fire, vast ships built of living metal, beings of light and thought standing before endless stars. He saw worlds rise and fall, civilizations burn, and one shining race, human-like, but greater, disappearing into the cosmos. He gasped, falling to his knees as the relic's light surrounded him. Outside, alarms blared. Power surges overloaded the systems. The entire outpost's energy grid collapsed. When the glow faded, the cube was gone. Only Elias remained, lying on the cold floor, trembling. His ship, still parked outside, began to hum softly. Its core now glowed the same soft white as the relic had. The aliens rushed into the chamber, scanning everything frantically. The readings made no sense. The relic's energy signature was inside the human's vessel. Dr. Vurek looked down at Elias, speechless. "What have you done?" Elias slowly sat up, dazed. He stayed at his hands. They were glowing faintly. He didn't understand it. But somehow, he felt it. The relic was part of him now. And deep in the void, far beyond that dead world, something ancient stirred. The galaxy had waited millions of years for this moment. For the first time, the relic had bowed, and it bowed to a human. Captain Elias Ward woke to silence. He was lying in his ship's med bay, the soft hum of the engines the only sound. The lights were dim, flickering faintly. His head pounded like a drum, and his throat felt dry as ash. He blinked several times, trying to remember where he was, what had happened. Then it came back in flashes. The relic, the light, the voice that had whispered in his mind. "Child of Earth, you have returned." He sat up slowly, pain rippling through his body. His veins still glowed faintly beneath his skin, fading with each heartbeat. He looked around. The instruments on the walls were all dead, the screens cracked and black. Only the ship's core, buried deep beneath the floor, hummed softly, pulsing with white light. Elias frowned. "That's not normal." He pulled himself up, limping toward the control room. Every step echoed through the hollow corridors. His breath fogged in the cold air. Something felt wrong, or rather, something felt alive. When he reached the cockpit, his eyes widened. The view outside was gone. No stars, no planets, no darkness, just a vast white void stretching endlessly in every direction, glowing like a living sea of light. His ship was floating in nothingness. "Okay," he muttered. "Either I'm dead, or I've found a new kind of crazy." The voice came again, soft but clear, echoing not in the air, but in his thoughts. "You are not dead, Elias Ward." He spun around, hand instinctively reaching for the sidearm on his belt, but there was no one there. The air shimmered, and slowly, shapes began to form. Faint outlines of figures made of light, human in shape, their faces gentle and ancient. "Who are you?" he whispered. "We are the first." The words filled his mind like a tide. "We are the ones who built the stars, who raised the worlds, who walked the path before all others. We were human once." Elias stared, lost for words. "You're telling me humans, ancient humans, built all this? You're the reason every alien out there's losing their minds over a cube." The light figures didn't move. "We were not gods," Elias warned. "We were explorers, dreamers. We sought understanding and found power. But power without wisdom brings ruin." Visions flashed before his eyes, galaxies burning, civilizations falling. He saw fleets of massive ships colliding in silent wars. He saw worlds crumble into dust. The images were too much. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Stop it!" he shouted. "Please, stop." The light dimmed, and the voice softened. "We left the relics behind to protect what remained, keys to our legacy. Only those who carry our spark may unlock them." "Spark?" Elias panted. "You mean genes? DNA?" "Yes." The voice almost sounded proud. "You are of our blood," Elias warned. "The others were not. They built their empires on what we left behind, but they do not remember us. Only you do, though you never knew it." Elias stood slowly, his mind spinning. "So that's why it bowed to me. That's why it called me worthy." The light pulsed gently. It recognized home. For a long moment, there was silence, the soft hum of his ship the only sound. Then Elias asked quietly, "Why me? There are billions of humans out there. Why not one of them?" "Because you came without greed," the voice said. "You did not seek power or glory. You came because someone called for help. That was enough." Elias swallowed hard. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep down he knew it was true. He hadn't come for riches. He'd come because he couldn't ignore a distress signal. Even in the empty corners of space, some part of him still believed in doing the right thing. The light began to fade. "There is more you must know." The ship trembled. Symbols appeared across the control panels, glowing patterns that looked like star maps, coordinates, data streams. He recognized none of it. "What is this?" "A path," said the voice. "The relic is a key, and it has awakened the way to the origin gate, the heart of all that was and all that will be. You must go there." "Go where? Why me?" The voice's tone deepened, almost sorrowful. "Because the gate will only open for a child of Earth." The light flickered once, then vanished completely. The white void dissolved, and the stars returned. His ship drifted silently in orbit above the ruined world, just as before, except for one difference. The ship's core, once dull and gray, now glowed with the same living light as the relic. Elias took a deep breath and looked out the viewport. The alien fleet still circled the planet, dozens of them, waiting, watching. He knew they wouldn't let him go easily. He leaned back in his seat, whispering to himself, "Guess I just became the galaxy's favorite target." But beneath the fear, something else stirred inside him, a feeling he hadn't known in years. Purpose. He didn't understand the relic. He didn't know what the origin gate was. But he knew this much. It had chosen him for a reason. And somewhere, deep inside the hum of his ship, a faint whisper echoed once more. "We are waiting, child of Earth." The moment the relic vanished, the galaxy trembled. Across star systems and homeworlds, sensors screamed and lights dimmed. Entire data networks froze as a surge of unknown energy rippled through space, a single pulse that spread faster than light itself. Every empire, every fleet, every station felt it. Then, silence. For 5 long seconds, the galaxy held its breath. And when the readings finally returned, one truth spread faster than any ship could travel. The human had taken the relic. In the high halls of the Lorne Ascendancy, the Council of Light gathered in panic. Their leader, Grand Seer Male 10, slammed a trembling hand against the holographic table. "Impossible! The core of origin cannot bond with lower species. How did this human steal it?" A dozen holograms flickered, alien faces filled with anger and fear. From the Threx Dominion, Dr. Varek appeared on the transmission, scales dull from exhaustion. He didn't steal it, Varek said quietly. The relic chose him. The council chamber erupted in noise. Voices shouted over one another. Accusations, threats, disbelief. A human cannot be chosen. They are primitives. If the relic truly recognizes their kind, everything we know about our history is a lie. The seer raised a hand, silencing them all. Then we must ensure that truth is never known. Send word to every fleet that human is to be captured or destroyed. The relic belongs to the galaxy, not to a single primitive world. While empires raged, far above the ruined planet, Elias Ward's ship drifted silently among the stars. He sat in the cockpit, staring at the dozens of ships forming a blockade around him. Alien cruisers glowed red with charging weapons. Fighters darted through the darkness like silver insects. He had no army, no backup, just an old ship and a mysterious power humming in its core. Well, he muttered, so much for a quiet day. The voice of the relic echoed faintly in his mind. They fear what they do not understand. You must go to the origin gate before they stop you. You mean before they turn me into space dust? Elias said under his breath. Got it. He gripped the controls. The ship's engines came alive, not with the dull hum of human tech, but with a bright, pulsing energy that made the stars blur. Outside, alien commanders shouted in their native tongues. Target the human vessel. Do not let it escape. Fire. Beams of plasma lanced through the void, converging on his ship. Elias slammed the throttle. The relic's power surged through the hull. Space itself bent and folded. The human vessel blurred, vanished, and reappeared miles away in an instant. The plasma beams struck empty darkness. Every alien sensor went blind. He jumped without a gate. Someone cried. That's impossible. No human ship had ever done that. But Elias didn't have time to be amazed. His heart pounded as his ship shook from the stress of the maneuver. The cockpit lights flickered, and the relic's voice whispered again. This body cannot sustain such power for long. You must be careful. Noted, Elias said, tightening his grip on the controls. But careful's not exactly an option right now. He jumped again, this time through a storm of debris, weaving between asteroids and shattered moons. Alien ships followed, hundreds of them. Their weapons flayed, but none could match his speed. His small vessel danced through space like a phantom, leaving only light trails behind. Across the galaxy, panic turned to fear. News channels showed the same image again and again. The moment the relic bowed to the human, crowds gathered in the streets of alien cities, whispering in confusion. The first ones were human. Does that mean they'll return? Is this the end of the old empires? Old religions broke. New ones began. Statues of the children of light, once imagined as alien gods, were found to resemble humans instead. Entire histories suddenly felt like lies. Governments began burning archives, erasing records, silencing witnesses. They couldn't allow the idea that humans might be the true heirs of the first civilization. But no matter what they erased, one fact remained. The relic had bowed. Elias's ship emerged from its final jump, engines smoking. He was breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face. The stars around him were unfamiliar, cold, blue, distant. He checked his scanners. The alien fleets were gone, at least for now. I think we lost them, he said softly. The relic's voice replied, faint but calm. You cannot run forever. They will follow. But the path is open now. The path to the origin gate, Elias said. Yes. He looked out at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, maybe near the galactic core, was the place the relic wanted him to find. The heart of everything. The beginning. He smiled faintly, exhausted but curious. Guess I always wanted a road trip. The relic's light pulsed once, almost like laughter. But deep inside the ship, in the shadows between circuits, something else stirred, faint echoes of the relic's code rewriting itself into the ship's systems. The vessel was changing, evolving, becoming something alive. And as it did, The galaxy continued to burn with fear. Armies were being built. Alliances were forming. The Council of Light, the Threx Dominion, the Cryos Forge, all agreed on one thing. The human must not reach the gate. For if he did, the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars ahead glowed like distant fires, cold and endless. Elias Ward sat in the cockpit of his ship, eyes fixed on the navigation display. The Relic symbols had reshaped the screen, no longer numbers or coordinates, but ancient markings that shifted slowly, pointing the way towards something vast, hidden near the galactic core. It had been 3 days since he escaped the blockade. 3 days of silence. No transmissions, no voices, no pursuit. But he knew they were out there. The alien empires didn't forget. They were regrouping, rebuilding, preparing to hunt again. For now, though, the void was quiet. Elias leaned back in his chair, staring at the soft white glow pulsing from the ship's engine core. It wasn't just power anymore. It felt alive, like a heartbeat. "You still with me?" he asked softly. The voice answered from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Always, Elias Ward. You've been pretty quiet since the last jump. Not that I mind. I could use the peace." He paused, then added, "But something tells me we're not just flying blind." "You are not. The Relic is guiding us toward the origin gate." "Yeah, you mentioned that before." Elias frowned. "But what is it? Really? A weapon? A machine? A tomb?" Silence stretched for a long moment. Then, softly, the Relic spoke. "It is a door." Elias blinked. "A door? To what?" "To memory." The air shimmered faintly. The ship's lights dimmed. For an instant, the walls seemed to melt into light. Not blinding, but soft, like sunlight through water. The voice continued. "When the first ones reached the height of their power, they built the gate. It was not meant for conquest or travel. It was a safeguard, a way to preserve all that we were." Visions filled Elias's mind again. Towering cities built across the stars, people walking through air like it was solid light, entire worlds singing in harmony. Then, just as suddenly, he saw war. Endless fleets burning through the void. Worlds breaking apart. Screams swallowed by fire. "We created much," the Relic whispered, "but we destroyed more. We feared what we had become." "So you locked it away," Elias said quietly. "Everything you built. Everything you were." "Yes. We sealed our legacy behind the gate. Our memories, our knowledge, our mistakes. The relics were keys to open it again, should any of our children ever rise to seek it." Elias was silent for a moment. The hum of the ship filled the quiet. "Children," he said softly. "You mean us. Humans. You carry our blood, our spark, our drive. But your people forgot where they came from. That is why we waited, for one who would seek not for power, but for truth." He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the console. "And if I open that gate, what happens then? The knowledge of the first will return. Your species will remember who it was meant to be." "That sounds big." He gave a small laugh, tired but genuine. "What if we're not ready for that kind of power? You said it destroyed you once." The relic pulsed, like a slow, deep heartbeat. "Readiness is not measured by fear, Elias Ward. It is measured by choice. You will decide what becomes of our legacy, not the empires, not the gods they pretend to be." Elias sighed, rubbing a hand across his face. "So I'm the chosen one. Huh. You've got the wrong guy. I'm just a pilot who can barely pay for fuel." "So were we, once." The voice almost sounded amused. "Dreamers, wanderers, lost among the stars. That is why you were chosen, not because you are strong, but because you are human." He looked out at the stars again. They didn't look so distant anymore. "If what you're saying is true, then everything the galaxy believes is a lie. They'll never let me reach that gate. They will try to stop you. They already are." A warning alarm blinked on the console. Long-range sensors flared to life. Elias's heart skipped a beat. "They found us." On the screen, faint blue dots began to appear. Dozens, then hundreds. Alien warships, stretching across the edge of the system, forming a net of steel and light. Multiple fleets inbound, the Relic confirmed. Lorne Ascendancy, Threx Dominion, Cryos Forge. All converging. Elias tightened his grip on the controls. Guess the quiet part of the trip's over. You cannot fight them, Elias warned. The Relic's strength must be saved for the gate. Then how do we get through? Trust me. The lights fled. The Relic's energy surged through the ship, and for a moment, Elias felt like the whole vessel took a breath. The engines screamed, and space itself seemed to fold inward. Outside, the alien fleets opened fire. Plasma, torpedoes, beams of light. Every shot missed. The human ship vanished between the folds of space, leaving behind only a ripple of light and a whisper in the comms that no one could explain. We built you. We are returning. Elias reappeared alone in the blackness, his ship trailing smoke and light. His pulse raced, his hands shaking. You call that trusting you, he muttered, gasping for breath. We survived. He laughed weakly. Barely. The Relic's voice softened. The origin gate awaits. Beyond it lies the truth, and the danger that ended us. Elias leaned back in his chair, staring into the endless dark. He didn't know if he was ready. He didn't know if humanity was ready. But he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't turn back now. Not when the truth of humanity's origin was waiting for him at the heart of the galaxy. The Relic's glow dimmed to a steady rhythm, like the beat of a heart. And in that deep, eternal silence of space, Elias Ward whispered to himself, "Then let's finish what our ancestors started." The void was no longer silent. Behind Captain Elias Ward's ship, space burned. Streaks of light crossed the stars as hundreds of alien vessels cut through the dark, their drives flaring blue and red. The combined fleets of three great empires, the Lorne Ascendancy, the Threx Dominion, and the Cryos Forge, had united for one purpose, to stop the human who carried the Relic. To them, he was no longer just a man. He was a threat to the galaxy. Elias's small ship, the Wayfarer, tumbled through the darkness, shaking under the strain of its engines. Every few seconds, the hull groaned, and warning lights flashed crimson across the cockpit. You weren't kidding about not having enough power, Elias muttered through clenched teeth. They are right behind us. The voice of the Relic filled the cabin, calm and steady despite the chaos. If we use more energy, the ship's structure will fail. You are already beyond the limits of human design. Story of my life, Elias said grimly. Always falling apart when it matters. Another explosion rocked the ship as a plasma bolt grazed the hull. Metal screamed, sparks showered the cockpit. The Wayfarer spun uncontrollably before Elias forced it back on course. They are closing in. Yeah, I noticed. He dove the ship toward the nearest nebula, a swirling storm of crimson gas and lightning, stretching for light years. Sensors would be useless in there, and even the largest cruisers hesitated to enter. It was his only chance. He pushed the throttle. The Wayfarer screamed forward, vanishing into the storm. Inside the nebula, the world became chaos. Clouds of red plasma swirled like living smoke. Electrical storms crackled through the void, painting the hull with flashes of violet light. The ship's shields flickered, straining against the radiation. Elias gritted his teeth. Tell me there's a way out of here. There is. The Relic's voice was calm, too calm, but not without cost. You're really bad at giving good news. You asked for truth, not comfort. Elias almost laughed. Almost. But before he could reply, a blast of energy tore through the clouds above. 3 alien fighters burst from the mist, engines blazing, weapons hot. They followed us. The Wayfarer jerked sideways as a bolt of plasma struck the wing. Warning screamed in Elias's ears. He pulled hard on the controls, rolling the ship through the dense fog, barely dodging another shot. Use the Relic, the voice urged. Channel its energy through the engines. You said that would kill me. Only if you push too far. That's not comforting either. Still, he had no choice. He reached toward the glowing core embedded in the console, his fingers trembling. The moment his skin touched it, a surge of power shot through him. His vision blurred, his heart pounded like thunder. The Wayfarer's engines roared to life, brighter than ever before. Time seemed to slow. The alien ships behind him froze mid-turn, their energy readings flickering in confusion. The Wayfarer bent light around itself, its hull dissolving into pure radiance. Then, with a sound like a distant heartbeat, the ship vanished. Elias gasped as the ship reappeared in open space, far beyond the nebula. His body ached. His chest felt like it was on fire. He stumbled from the pilot's seat, clutching his side. "You didn't mention the part where it hurts like hell," he groaned. "You connected too deeply," the relic said softly. "It is not meant for your kind to merge fully with its essence. Your body cannot sustain the strain." He laughed weakly. "Good to know. Next time, I'll read the manual first." He collapsed into the chair, breathing hard. The stars outside spun slowly as the ship stabilized itself. He checked the scanners. No pursuit. For now, they were safe. But his hands, they were glowing again. Faint, but unmistakable. He stared at them in silence. "You're changing me, aren't you?" "Adapting you," said the relic. "You are becoming what you were meant to be." What does that even mean? Humanity was never meant to remain as it is, small, afraid, divided. The first ones began the evolution. You will continue it. Elias sat back, eyes closed. "I didn't ask to be some kind of prophet, you know. I just wanted to fly. And yet you fly farther than any of them ever did." He didn't answer. The silence between them stretched, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's heart, his heart, beating in rhythm with the relic's light. Then the console beeped. A new signal had appeared, faint, pulsing at regular intervals. It matched the pattern of the relic's energy exactly. Elias stared at it. "What is that?" "The gate," the relic whispered. "We are nearing the center. The way is opening." He looked out the viewport. Far ahead, beyond a field of dying stars, a single beam of white light pierced the void. Faint, but constant, like a lighthouse in an endless sea. The origin gate. Behind them, the galaxy was on fire. The alien fleets had lost his trail, but not their resolve. In the halls of the Ascendancy, Grand Seer Mailten stared at the holomap, trembling. "He heads for the center," she said. "For the gate itself." Dr. Vurek's voice came through the comm, low and fearful. "If he opens it, everything changes. The relics, the empires, all of it. Then he cannot be allowed to reach it," the seer hissed. "Send every ship we have. If we must burn the stars to stop him, so be it." Elias didn't know how many enemies were coming. He didn't care. He placed his hand on the relic's core once more, its light reflecting in his tired eyes. "All right, old friend," he said softly. "Let's finish this. Let's see what the first ones were so afraid of." And with that, the Wayfarer turned toward the center of the galaxy, toward the light that waited at the heart of creation. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun.